The email came in quietly. No headlines, no alerts. Just a private message sent through diplomatic back channels. President Obama invites Captain Ibrahim Traoré for a closed-door summit in Accra, Ghana. Confidential, 72 hours. Nobody expected it. Not in the midst of Africa's rising voice and Washington's cautious distance. And definitely not from Obama. A symbol of hope for millions, now out of office, but never out of influence. The world didn't know what was coming. Traoré paused when he read it. He didn't trust smiles easily. Not after watching the West turn its back on Burkina Faso. Not after burying brothers who died believing in freedom. But something about Obama made him hesitate. Was this an opportunity or a trap dressed in diplomacy? 3 days later, on Ghanaian soil, under sweltering heat and bulletproof glass, they met. A crowd gathered far behind barriers. Cameras were limited. Secret Service watched every breath. Obama approached with his signature smile, arms slightly open, offering what looked like a hug. And in that second, everything froze. What Traoré did next will be replayed in history books, but first, you need to understand why he did it. Because this isn't about a hug. It's about identity. Long before the cameras, long before the medals, before anyone called him Captain. Ibrahim was a barefoot boy running through red dust roads in Kaya. His village had no gold, no oil, only mango trees, laughter, and a mother who never stopped praying. One rainy season, a cholera outbreak swept through the town. Aid never came. His baby sister coughed herself to death in his arms while radio stations in France debated African governance issues. That pain never left him. It became his compass. At 17, he joined the military, not because he loved guns, but because he hated begging. By 23, he led missions against terrorists the West refused to fight unless it fit their schedule. And yet he never became bitter, just quieter. So when Obama reached to hug him, in that split second, Traoré didn't just see the man. He saw a system. The drone strikes, the puppet governments, the smiles hiding sanctions. He remembered his sister. Obama's hand was still reaching forward, and Traoré, calm but firm, did not move. The silence that followed was louder than thunder. The handshake never came. The hug never happened. And still, Obama smiled. A flicker of surprise passed through his eyes, quickly tucked behind years of training. He gestured toward a private room. Only the two of them were allowed inside. No advisors, no media, no phones, just the leader of a global superpower, and the son of Africa, who had dared to say no without speaking a word. Inside, the room was cold, deliberately neutral. Beige walls, a small table, 2 water bottles. Obama sat. Traoré stood for a moment longer, his eyes scanning everything, not with fear but awareness. He was used to being targeted. Then he spoke first. "You wanted to hug me, Mr. Obama. Why?" Obama looked at him carefully. "Because the world sees you as a threat. But I see something else. You remind me of myself, before the system changed me." That sentence cut deep, not just for Traoré, but for every viewer hearing it. But Traoré didn't flinch. He pulled out a folded photo from his pocket, his sister smiling. "Do you see her too?" And Obama said nothing. Outside, the world still didn't know what had just started, but they would soon. Obama stared at the picture Traoré held out. It was small, faded. A child's smile, tooth missing, eyes full of joy, joy that no longer existed. Obama didn't touch the photo. He didn't need to. The weight of it filled the space. "She died because your world forgot mine," Traoré said quietly. Obama exhaled. "Ibrahim, I know. I tried. I tried to change it." But Traoré didn't blink. "Then why does it still feel like colonialism wears a suit now instead of a rifle?" Silence. A heavy, complicated silence. Obama ran a hand through his hair, older now, grayer, slower. I invited you here because people are afraid of you. Traoré's brow lifted slightly. Good. Obama looked up. But fear won't bring change. Conversation will. Then let's talk, but not like politicians, like men who've lost something. In that moment, the room stopped being about politics. It became about grief. Two men, one system, one wound neither could heal. And outside, someone leaked a photo. A blurry image of Obama mid-reach, and Traoré unmoved. The internet exploded. What just happened? Did Traoré reject Obama? Why didn't he hug back? The world was watching now. Back in Burkina Faso, people gathered around radios and cheap phones. They saw the photo, Obama reaching, Traoré still, and they wept. Not because it was disrespectful, but because it was dignified. They knew that look in Traoré's eyes. It was the same look their fathers had when they buried sons after failed aid promises. The same quiet steel their mothers carried when they gave birth without electricity. Traoré didn't need to speak. That photo was the speech, but not everyone understood. Western media spun it as arrogance. Traoré embarrasses Obama, one headline read. Rude rejection, said another. But in the Sahel, they whispered a new name. The lion who stood still. Meanwhile, in the private room, Obama opened a file. Photos, reports, satellite images. You've cut ties with France, kicked out U.S. troops, partnered with other African nations. You're pushing for sovereignty. Fast. Traoré nodded. Because we're done asking permission to breathe. Obama tapped the table. But you know how they'll react. Traoré leaned forward. Let them react. Africa is done begging for a seat. We're building our own table. A long pause. Then, and you're invited, Traoré said softly. Obama was stunned. He had come expecting resistance, or maybe defiance. But what he heard was something more dangerous. Conviction. Traoré wasn't angry. He was calm. The kind of calm that terrified empires. Obama closed the file. His voice softened. Do you know what they'll do to you, Ibrahim? You're making enemies of giants. Traoré shrugged. I'm not afraid of giants. I was raised among graves. That sentence pierced through the former president. He remembered his own journey. Chicago streets, activist roots, the hope of his campaign. And how power changed him, shaped him, silenced parts of him. You're not here for diplomacy, Obama said at last. No, I'm here for truth. That night, away from cameras, the two men stayed in that room for hours, debating, listening, even laughing once, briefly. Traoré told him about his sister's favorite song. Obama shared how hard it was to stay honest in power. Then Traoré stood. The world thinks something happened today. Let them wonder. But I'll tell you something, Mr. Obama. He walked to the door. That hug you offered? It wasn't mine to take. It belonged to my people. And they're not ready yet. He walked out. Obama stayed seated, alone. It started as a whisper, a leaked audio clip, only 5 seconds long, a voice, unmistakably Barack Obama saying, he's too dangerous, too pure. The internet split in half. Was it real? Taken out of context? A warning? A threat? In Washington, security briefings erupted. Former allies made hushed calls. Someone wanted to silence Traoré, and they wanted to do it quietly. Meanwhile, Traoré returned to Ouagadougou. He didn't speak to reporters. He didn't post a word. But his people noticed something different. He was quieter, sharper, watching everything. That night his motorcade was rerouted. An anonymous threat had been received. Snipers, possibly foreign, CIA, Wagner, French mercenaries. No one could confirm. Inside his bunker, Traoré lit a candle by his sister's photo. He whispered, "They're scared of my silence. Let's show them my voice." The next day he held a press conference. He didn't speak about Obama. He spoke about Africa. He spoke of stolen resources, manipulated elections, and blood-soaked treaties. He didn't point fingers. He painted a picture. And millions across Africa cried. They weren't tears of sadness. They were tears of recognition. The kind that says, finally, someone said it. In a luxury hotel in Accra, a man no one recognized checked in using a fake name. Tall, clean-cut, American accent, gray suit, cold eyes. He ordered room service, made no calls. But he had a folder, photos of Traoré, schedules, maps. On the folder, Operation Soft Dust. Back in Washington, a silent authorization had been passed, not for assassination, not yet, but for containment. They feared Traoré wasn't just resisting influence, he was inspiring a generation. In Mali, in Niger, in Senegal, young people began marching barefoot with signs, "We stand with Traoré." No more puppets. Africa is not your experiment. The man in the gray suit made his first move. A journalist in Burkina Faso disappeared. A bank account linked to Traoré's government was frozen overnight. Power outages began, timed, targeted, silent economic warfare. And yet, Traoré didn't flinch. He gathered his cabinet. "They're coming with ink, not bombs, but we will not fold." One minister asked, "What do we do now?" Traoré looked out the window at the crowds gathering. "We show them that Africa's spine is no longer for sale." And the room stood with him, one heart, one voice. Late one night, as the capital trembled with whispers of sabotage, Traoré's phone rang. Unknown number. He answered. It was Obama. "They've activated something, Ibrahim. You need to listen to me." Traoré's tone didn't change. "Now you care?" "No," Obama replied quietly. "I never stopped." There was a pause. "They're using my visit to you as justification," Obama confessed. "They're saying you embarrassed America, that you're fueling instability." "They're right," Traoré said. "No, they're afraid," Obama countered. "Of your clarity, your truth. I've been where you are, but I was changed by the system. You refused it. They don't know what to do with that." Traoré was quiet. His eyes scanned the night outside. Something moved in the shadows. "Why are you telling me this?" Obama's voice broke a little. "Because if they silence you, it means I failed twice." Then for the first time, Obama said it. "The hug I tried to give you, it wasn't a gesture. It was a warning. I knew what they'd do if you refused." Traoré exhaled. Then it was worth it. Click. Call ended. Outside, a drone hovered. The game had just changed. 2 days after the call from Obama, a box arrived at the presidential palace in Ouagadougou. No sender. Inside, a hand-carved wooden sculpture of a lion. Majestic, African, seemingly innocent. But Traoré had seen enough war to know, gifts can kill. The security team ran a scan. Hidden inside, a microchip transmitter. Likely meant to leak location data. Silent, deadly, sophisticated. He didn't flinch. He stared at the lion. "They're not just warning me. They're mocking me." Later that night at a council meeting, something worse happened. A trusted advisor, one Traoré had known since their military days, stood up, and in front of the whole room, walked out. No words, no explanation. He didn't return. 2 hours later, they found him across the border, in Ghana, entering the U.S. Embassy. Oh, defection. Inside the palace, Traoré said nothing, but his eyes betrayed a pain too deep for words. He lit a small flame and dropped the lion sculpture into it. He watched it burn. "Lions don't play chess," he whispered. Outside, the streets were still, but online, a storm raged. "Pray for Traoré" was trending, and in dark rooms across continents, plans accelerated. That night the rain came. Heavy, violent, the kind that bends trees and floods memories. Traoré stood alone on the balcony of his modest residence. No gold, no luxury. Just soaked fabric and the sound of thunder. He had barely slept. Every hour, new alerts. French media accused him of destabilizing the region. A CNN analyst called him another African strongman. Sanctions loomed, but none of that broke him, until the call came. A convoy had been ambushed. One of his community clinics, built with local hands, not foreign funds, had been bombed. No soldiers were hurt. But the nurse who died had once fed him as a child. Her name was Mariam. The news shattered him, not because of the bomb, but because the world wouldn't care. There would be no hashtags for Mariam, no UN press briefings, just red mud and another funeral. In the rain, Traoré fell to his knees. He wept, not as a president, not as a revolutionary, but as a human who'd just lost one too many people. Behind him, an aide approached with an umbrella. Traoré waved it away. "Let me feel this," he said. "Let me carry their pain, or I don't deserve to lead." Somewhere in a drawer inside Obama's home in Washington sat a letter. Unsent, unread, unfinished. It was addressed to Ibrahim Traoré. He had written it the day after they met in Accra. "You reminded me of who I once was, and what I was too afraid to remain." He hadn't mailed it. He didn't know if it would help, or only bring more danger. But now, with the world circling Traoré like vultures, he opened the drawer again, and he added, "If they take you down, it will not be because you were wrong. It will be because you were right too early." Across the ocean, Traoré sat with his cabinet, tired, bruised, resolute. "They're coming faster now," one general warned. "Then we don't stand faster," Traoré replied. "We stand truer." Outside, protests rose, not against him, but for him. People in villages and cities began painting murals of him with all lion eyes. He was no longer just a leader, he was a movement, but movements threaten systems. And somewhere, a shadow moved, because when hope rises too fast, they always try to kill it. It was past midnight. The palace was dark, except for one room glowing with candlelight. Traoré was rereading a handwritten letter from a schoolgirl in Bobo Dioulasso. "You make me proud to be African. Please don't die." He smiled. Softly, sadly. Then, a knock, unscheduled. A guard entered, eyes wide. "Sir, someone inside the security detail. We believe he's been turned." Time froze. They found the man in the West Wing, disguised as a technician. His real name was American. His passport fake. His orders: infiltrate, locate, neutralize. Neutralize. They tackled him before he reached the inner corridor. He didn't resist, just smiled coldly. He shouldn't have embarrassed the United States. Traoré was silent as they dragged the man out. His ministers argued. "We need tighter borders. We must go on air. We retaliate." Traoré raised one hand. "No." They looked at him. "This was not an attack on me. It was an attack on what I represent." Then he turned to his generals. "The next one won't be a warning. Get the children out of the city." No one asked why. Everyone already knew. The lion had just been hunted. And this time, they wouldn't miss. In a small town near the Mali border, an 11-year-old girl named Salimata sat under a mango tree, holding a crackling radio. She had lost her father to a drone strike 2 years ago. They said it was a mistake. No one said sorry. But every evening she tuned in to hear Traoré's voice, his speeches, his fire, his calm. She said to her mother one night, "When he talks, it's like my papa is alive again." That day, the radio said something else, a rumor. Burkina Faso's president may have been targeted in a failed assassination attempt. Salimata dropped the radio. No! She ran barefoot through the village, asking old men, mothers, teachers. No one had answers. Back in Ouagadougou, Traoré was still alive, but barely. He had gone underground. Only 3 people knew where he was. But in every town, something strange began happening. Children started wearing red ribbons on their wrists, symbolizing blood, yes, but also defiance. In churches, mosques, and open fields, people gathered in silence. No chants, no signs, just a name written on their palms. Traoré. And Salimata, with tears in her eyes, whispered, "If they take him, who will protect us now?" The world didn't know yet. But it was already too late. Dawn broke in Burkina Faso, and with it, a coffin appeared, placed quietly in the courtyard of the presidential palace. No note, no cameras, just a wooden casket, painted white, with a single bullet hole through its lid. Inside was not a body, but a black suit. Traoré's size, tailored to fit him. A message. Inside the bunker, Traoré stared at it. He didn't blink. His general stood frozen, fists clenched. "They're telling me I have a choice," he said calmly. "Bow out, or be buried." He walked to the window. Outside, thousands had gathered in the streets, chanting, praying, holding candles. Kids on shoulders, old women with flags, men with nothing but hope. Obama's letter still sat in his coat pocket. He hadn't replied, but now he knew what his answer was. He stood tall. "Call the press," he said. "No hiding." "Sir, they'll let them come." He picked up the coffin lid, carried it outside himself, and dropped it before the cameras. The crowd gasped. "If they want me gone," he said loudly, "they'll have to bury all of us." The people roared. Some wept. Because they knew. Their lion had just chosen to die standing. The morning air was strange. Too quiet. Too clean. Like the world had taken a breath it couldn't exhale. At 6:04 a.m., every major news network broke the same story. Sources confirm a private military drone has breached Burkinabe airspace. The target was suspected to be Traoré. No official claimed responsibility. But everyone knew. In Ouagadougou, people poured into the streets. School children left classrooms. Farmers dropped tools. Mothers clutched babies. No one wanted to be alone. Inside a safe house, Traoré stood beside an old radio. No guards, no gun, just a cracked voice recorder in his hand. He pressed record. "If this is my last message, let it be heard clearly. We are not poor. We are not helpless. We are not property. We are Africa. And I am not your puppet." The drone struck at 6:31 a.m. A flash, a silence, and then nothing. No confirmed body, no message from the government, no funeral. The people stood, frozen in time. In the village of Kaya, a little boy whispered, "Is the lion dead?" His grandmother, wiping her eyes, whispered back, "Lions don't die. They disappear into the tall grass and return when the wind is right." 2 weeks passed. Silence. No photos, no video, no trace of Captain Ibrahim Traoré. Western media declared him eliminated. Washington stayed quiet. The streets of Burkina Faso, however, were not quiet. Mass vigils, nationwide fasts. People stopped eating for days, not out of grief, but in protest. Murals of Traoré now stretched across buildings. Songs were written. Children in Mali and Ghana memorized his last radio message by heart. And then, on a quiet Tuesday morning, a video appeared on a single encrypted channel. No intro, no caption, just Traoré, sitting beside a campfire, deep in the Sahel, eyes fierce, voice calm. "You thought you buried me," he said, "but I am a seed. This is not about me anymore, this is about all of us. The lion isn't just a man, it's a spirit, one that lives in every African child who refuses to bow. People screamed, danced, sobbed. Old men dropped to their knees, mothers held their babies closer. Obama watched from his home in disbelief. He turned to his wife and said only one word. He survived. And for the first time in a long time, he smiled. 3 months later, a dusty village, a small primary school, a guest no one expected. Ibrahim Traoré walked through the gates, alive, scarred, slower, but glowing with peace. He wore no medals, no uniform, just a white tunic and sandals. Children ran to him. Among them was a boy holding a wooden carving, a lion, crude, unfinished, rough. He held it up. "It's for you." Traoré knelt. "Why a lion?" he asked. The boy replied, "Because lions don't kneel." Traoré took the carving, his eyes welled with tears. He looked up at the teacher and whispered, "This is why they'll never win." That night on national television, he gave one final speech. "I will not rule forever. I do not wish to. But promise me this, never let anyone tell you that your land, your voice, or your dignity must come with permission. Africa must rise not by war, but by waking up." The screen went black. Then his words appeared, glowing. "Let the lions wake the world." If this story touched you, made you cry, or opened your heart, don't just watch. Like this video, hit subscribe, and comment below. The lion will never kneel. Let's flood the internet with this message. Let the world feel this. Let the story live on in your voice. Traoré's not gone. He's in us now.